So, Arcane and the world of League of Legends is such a vast one at this point. I mean, what was it like exploring all of this source material to really bring the series to life?
Well, I think we've been with the game and the IP for so long. Uh, it was just kind of unpacking. I think a lot of what happened between the time when the characters came out and also like how they became these icons, for our players in the league community. And so I think a lot of it was really trying to to listen to our audience and how they perceive the characters. I remember when we put out for example Viktor, and certain stories were released, how there was kind of an outcry for when we just made him too much of like a, I don't know, tropey villain or something like that, and like what kind of nuance there is among the perception of our audience. So I think a lot of it was just really trying to get a good idea of like what is it that makes these characters special in the eyes of our audience, and trying to respect that, and then finding, I think, what we have to say, because I think the worst thing we can do is just do a bunch of fan service. So then working together to kind of go take that and say, okay, what is actually something that we have to say with this story that we're going to craft. But yeah, it's a pretty generic answer, but it was just a lot of I think trying to find the right answers, even just for ourselves.
Alex, did you have anything to add to that one?
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a very familiar position. I mean, we spent such a long time working on the world. I think, for me, it's like there are just so many different people who I worked with and spent a lot of time with, and they're, for as much as you see in the game or in on the websites and in the bios and the color stories, there are so many more stories that we didn't have the opportunities or the right medium or something like that to tell. So it in a lot of ways it was an embarrassment of riches, and then in some ways it was about like, gosh, how do we cut it down to just be the story that we want to tell right here right now. But of course, I think figuring out how to translate the game to the screen definitely took a lot of learning, a lot of adapting. But I think we feel pretty good about where it landed. And it, I think one thing that we did that I hope, it sort of, it brings the show to a place where both fans of the IP and newcomers can both appreciate it, is, we always tried to make the team comprised of both longtime league players and league developers, and then also people who are kind of coming in fresh out of Hollywood or just outside in general. And I think that really helped give us kind of like both sides of the perspective of different audiences that might be coming to watch.
So what would you say then were some of the biggest, I mean, I know you said a lot of it was just finding a way to figure out what to say and translate it, but what would you say were some of the biggest creative challenges for you both, finding that right tone and finding that right balance of stuff for longtime players as well as for newcomers?
I think in a game like League of Legends, the characters, you kind of have to stay kind of like on the surface level with our characters, because there's 150 characters in League of Legends, so like in order for you to get an idea of who a character really is, you have like, I don't know, 5-10 voiceover lines that are going to really stick with you, but you need to be very clear about who they are. When you craft something like Arcane, you do have to go much deeper. If you think about sticking with a character for over 6 hours, you're just going to keep watching them. You start asking a lot of different questions, around what's their daily life like, like where do they sleep? What do they eat? Like how do they kind of go about their day? And that was something we never really explored. So I think it was that, like adding these layers that actually they're necessary to even really entertain real drama and real, I don't know, like these human elements and moments that in League you don't really experience with these characters. But I think apart from that, we talk about this sometimes. We did the first animation tests. We had seen and worked with these characters for so long, and yet we had never seen them even like speak, you know, because our game just, you don't really see, you don't get that close to our characters. So the casting process was very scary because so much of our players' expectation also comes from the voice of the characters and, you know, how they express themselves. And so we just had to take liberties. You know, we had to kind of find the version that in our minds respects who the characters are, but also still take it further. So, you know, like, yeah, we had to take some risks.
So then, since the voices were so important, who would you say was the toughest one, and who would you say was the easiest one to find in the casting process?
We'd count down from 3, and we would both say Jinx was the scariest, and I think, you know, like we even knew from the very beginning would be one of the toughest roles to really nail. You know, she's so big, right? And so like everything is externalized in the game, but of course we knew we wanted in the show to sort of get to, you know, peer beneath that layer, right? And find kind of the subtlety and nuance for the character. And I think Ella, you know, did a fantastic job of nailing that. And I think I suppose we might also count down from 3 and guess the easiest cast. Although, you know, it was simultaneously easy and nerve wracking, which I think it would be Silco, where, you know, fortunately, you know, Silco is a new character. And so, you know, he doesn't come quite as loaded with expectations as any of the champions would. But I distinctly remember, I think it was like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I was going through just this long list of auditions at the like, you know, it was late night for me, early morning for others, I suppose. And I was just going through and I was like, I just had this sort of sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach as I was listening to the auditions where I was like, oh God, this is going to be impossible. And then, you know, Jason Spizak's voice was like the clouds parting, because it was just like from the first second of the first audition, he just was Silco, you know. And I think we never, like, working with him, it was always just, you know, which of the options that you've given us, you know, should we take? So those were probably either end, but, you know, like it's hard to single out any member of the cast because everyone does a really great job. Everyone commits so hard, you know, to their role and to nailing, you know, both what we're looking for the show, but also, you know, like something that will fit or live up to the expectations of the fans. So, you know, I think we're so fortunate to have found the people that we found.
So what was it like then working with Netflix and sort of coming to realize that they were going to be the perfect home to bring this series to life for you both?
I mean, we knew from our audience that they were already on Netflix, and you know, we also have a global game. I think a lot of us, you know, especially when you grew up in a place like Europe, you're kind of used to the experience of like, oh, and there's my favorite, I don't know, show or movie or game coming out in the US first, and maybe someday I'll get it too. And I think that just is something that, you know, the world has luckily shifted away from, but for us, it's still something very real that even a slight delay really, you know, has our audience up in arms, rightfully so. And so when you did with Netflix, there was the capability to release this really at the same time at a quality bar that's really high. You know, the localization was very, very important to us, but maybe also be self-centered here for a second to me, because I grew up with overdubs, you know, like I grew up in Germany watching my favorite shows and movies in German, and you can always tell if someone kind of spent the time and the effort to make something truly great with a dub. So that was really, really important to us. And working with Netflix there was really helpful because we could just really make sure. I mean, I watched the German, the French, the Spanish, the Mandarin version. Granted, in many cases, I had no idea what I'm listening to, but at least kind of just like making sure that the lip sync is good, that we've kind of put in the hours to make sure this is good. That was just really important. You know, Netflix was just a really strong partner to make sure that the experience of how this goes out is right for our audience. And that was just where they really excel.
Christian
And
can answer the
Rant?
rest of your questions in Mandarin. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying we're at the end of the time because Grant, you need another room. But Alex, I spoke over you. I apologize. What were you about to say?
Oh, no, it was fine. I was making a dumb joke. So you're good.
Sorry. I feel bad. But Grant, they're waiting for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get you to your next interview unless you have one final question. Are you good?
Nope. I was going to wrap after that. So thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Great talking to you. And I can't wait to spread the word about the show.
Thanks, Grant.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.